Right? Just be less honest. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, yes. All right, it's 5:15, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the September 2nd, 2025 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Zoning. Present here this evening are Hal Morrison, Gordon Huey, Allison Grass, John Bennett, and me, your chair, Jeff Tibbles, present from the planning staff, are Matthew Slagle and Robert Summerfield. These proceedings are being recorded, and we ask that those who speak, please identify yourself for the record. We will conduct this meeting in the usual fashion. We will first receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. Board of Zoning Appeals usually, but not always, approves uncontested applications. For all applications, the board reserves the right to ask questions of the staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application, or if there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny the application. Board of Zoning Appeals zoning has the authority to do three things. Number one, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. Number two, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. Number three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54-924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum is present and qualified to vote. However, an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the board members present and voting shall be required before a use variance may be granted. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. I'm required by our city's ordinance to ask that you tell the truth if you intend to speak. So if you do intend to speak, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You'll signify by saying I do. Thank you. I don't think we've got any deferrals on the agenda this evening.
No, sir.
And so we'll move right into it. The agenda for September 2nd, 2025. A, review of minutes and deferred applications from previously advertised BZA-Z agendas. Number one, review minutes of the August 25th, 2025 meeting. Board members' draft minutes have been circulated to you in your packet of materials for this meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Morrison moves to approve. Mr. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. Mr. Pivot has abstained from the vote because he was not present at the meeting last week, but the ayes have it and carries with a quorum and a majority of 4 votes. Next item on our agenda, A2, 106 Columbus Street, East Side, Council District 4, TMS number 459-05-03-063, Zone GB, requesting a variance from section 54-317 to provide no off-street parking for a proposed wine bar. 4 spaces are required. The owner is Heman Darji. The applicant is Brian Crouch Architect, LLC. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you will recall this item was before you previously. The applicant had deferred the item so that they could do some additional work to try to secure some offsite parking. I'll let the applicant talk about their efforts, but they have assured staff that they have diligently been working to try to secure some additional offsite parking. As you'll remember, this is mid-block between Meeting and Nassau Street on Columbus on this lot here, GB zoning. You can see the aerial here of the property. They are proposing as a part of their entire kind of remodel plan for this property to do some additions and actually a new structure in the rear. All of this as a part of a rehab for this project that is under BAR jurisdiction, and BAR will be reviewing all the architectural elements for it. The current property has residential use. It has, I believe it's two units. 2 units, right? Yeah. So the 2 units are that are presently on the property. We are considering them as non-conforming parking. So we're not including their parking because those 2 units would continue under the proposed remodel reorganization of the parcel. So with the 2 units being non-conforming, really the only thing in question for this board is the proposal is to take the front of the main house, the existing house, and convert it from it being a part of the residential component of this property and convert it into this relatively small, but still some space devoted to it. Wine bar that they're proposing to do at the front of the property. Unfortunately, again, because they're continuing the existing uses of residential, we do not have any ability to assign any of the existing parking on site to this new proposed use. And as such, they need to address 4 spaces of parking. And just some more images of the building. Unfortunately, this is an area that has some parking issues. We've heard quite a bit from residents in that area about and business owners about access to street parking. Where would the street parking be? And so, unfortunately, while normally we would recommend approval if this was a special exception in terms of for those existing residential, if for some reason the remodel was going to cause some issues with parking there. Because this is a new use added to the site, not replacing anything existing, it does fall into the variance, which falls into the hardship test, and staff cannot support the hardship request. Again, the applicant has provided some additional information about some of their efforts to secure parking, including trying to work with the neighboring business. One of the things you're going to start to see, and this is the first one, we're going to be doing this in steps, but we're going to be gradually increasing some of the information that we try to publish and make available, including any relevant particularly recent case history involved on the site, and then formalize a slide with staff's recommendation for the request, and then any if approved conditions that we may have. As I was saying, staff's recommendation for this variance request is denial, and we do not have any if approved conditions at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak in opposition to the application for 106 Columbus Street? Anybody opposed to the application for 106 Columbus? Okay, seeing no one opposed, we have the owner applicant here, Mr. Crouch. Would you like to address the board?
Good evening, everyone. You all had a good weekend. Can we go back to the site plan, please?
Yep.
So as you'll remember, we were for you guys not too long ago asking for, sorry, the slide right before this, my apologies. Yes, this one. Asking for variance for parking spaces. This is the site located right here. And we've since done a little bit more research. Touch screen. And can show that there's actually 2 dedicated pay to park parking spaces within, I mean, this one is directly across the street. This one's within 250 feet of the property. This is 24-hour paid to park, 24-hour paid to park. And then we created another graphic that showed a radius around the site and just how many available paid to parking locations there are in a total of 2,623 parking spaces. We feel that this application is kind of a textbook hardship. The property is zoned as general business, and we wouldn't be able to provide, if we weren't proposing a wine bar office space, we still would not be able to provide the parking. And so we feel that this is kind of, again, textbook hardship. We're not able to utilize the property how it's zoned due to the site constraints and parameters we're working with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crouch. Anybody else wishes to speak in favor of the application? Okay, Robert, remind me what is the city's position is recommending denial. However, the basis for that is what? That you don't think they meet the variance test?
Correct. So our basis is the wine bar, and again, I in my initial comments, I hope I was clear. You know, we do acknowledge it's a relatively small wine bar that they are proposing. However, in our parking standard just addresses patron use area. It doesn't actually address like employees. So this is a site where they're not substituting a use. So again, that becomes a different conversation. If you were taking and eliminating the existing residential from the site and just converting it to something else, then that's, like I said, that's a different conversation. And there would be some credit given towards those new uses with the removal of the old uses in terms of what would be allowed. However, under the proposal, they're keeping the existing units on site, reconfiguring how the property works with the proposed addition that they're working with the BAR on, and then they would repurpose a part of the existing structure for this wine bar. Based on our parking table that requires 4 spaces, when you look at this, you know, clearly they're going to have patrons in excess of 4 patrons. They're also going to have, I would think, at least 2 staff members at any given time. So that's, you know, now you're potentially 6 personal automobiles. Where are they parking? There is no dedicated space. The applicant did mention there is a lot of paid to park in the general vicinity, and won't argue with that. However, how user friendly is that for employees who are going to be parked there more than a couple hours, or others that may be driving? Again, I think, and the applicant can speak to this if they like. I know their argument is, their expectation is this is not going to be a destination establishment. This is going to be a neighborhood establishment.
people are going to be walking from other businesses in the area, grabbing a drink on the way home, or they're going to be folks that live in the area stopping by to have a nice glass of wine, after dinner or something like that. That this is not going to be drawing new traffic. So unfortunately, like I said, if it was a special exception, I think we would have a different potential recommendation. But given the fact that it's already a property that's in use, it's a use as a residential, which is fully allowed under the GB. So it's not a matter of depriving the property of its use, what it's allowed to do under the zoning. It's not really unique in that, we have lots of properties that have minimal parking. It does technically have two legitimate parking spaces, if you would. I know on the drawing, you can see 3 cars can park there, but because they're 2 separate units, you can only actually use tandem for 1 unit, not for 2. So we only count 2 spaces. At any rate, yeah, that's our issue.
Okay. And so there's no question, but that they fall under the part of the ordinance that would require additional spaces for this use. I understand that part of it. Just give me a second. What I'm struggling with is how the city has determined that they do not meet the variance test, and you touched on it a little bit with respect to the fact that there are a number of uses under general business, and perhaps residential is an existing conforming use under a general business zoning designation. However, there are other uses as well that could be utilized for this property under general business. For a commercial use to be feasible, wouldn't any kind of a commercial use require that additional parking?
Yeah, so again, if this existing building, or even with the additional footprint that they would have under the proposal, if it was not residential and say this building was converting to office, which I think Mr. Couch kind of mentioned, then it would have sufficient square footage that it would exceed the 2 non-conforming parking spaces that it would be credited to. That said, it would also fall under the rules for a special exception at that point, because it would be it wouldn't be a variance. It would be, I believe, a special exception. So that has a different standard.
Because that's written in the ordinance.
Yeah.
So one other question that I'll let you respond. Has the neighborhood provided comment that they say parking is a problem here and don't allow this use, and this is going to exacerbate an existing condition? We gotten those kind of comments from the public?
We received one call. I don't believe we got it in writing. A call from a neighboring property that was concerned about the variance. Specifically, they were more concerned about the use than the parking variance, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
But they did bring up parking being tight for existing users in the area. And then specific to this application, that's the only
No
communication I'm
record,
aware of.
there's no written communication.
We don't have, I don't believe we have any written communication relative to this.
Right. Mr. Crouch?
To one thing that was said, even if we were to say there's 2 residential units there now, even if we were to forego 1 unit and have a residential use in a wine bar or office space, the lot will not allow for us to provide the adequate parking for a commercial use. It's not wide enough. The Charleston single is fairly deep. It's uncommon. It had an addition at some point in time. So even if we decided to make this whole property just office space, we wouldn't be able to provide adequate parking, because I believe under the zoning ordinance, we can't provide like stacked parking for commercial use. So it's zone general business. if we decided to use the whole property just for commercial, we wouldn't be able to provide any parking.
Well, I think that's what Mr. Summerfield was saying, which is you'd be under a special exception in that hypothetical. The irony is that because you've got residential, commercial combined, you're thrown into the variance. And it puts you under a different standard
Yes.
to add the business. So how many patrons is this set up for, the proposed wine bar? How many tabletops or?
We haven't done a detailed code analysis of what the occupancy space will allow us. We'll have to post a maximum occupancy load that we haven't done.
So is it 4 rooms? Is that what I'm?
It's just one, the wine bar. It's just one service room here. There's a bar located kind of here with this L shape, and then all of this is kind of back of house, ADA bathrooms in the back kitchen.
So what's the kitchen do? What's the wine bar got?
It's-
Small offerings of food?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and they won't be actually cooking. It's more of like a prep area.
Right.
There. But
And so you're looking at about like possible 10 seats around that L-shaped bar,
mhm.
and then maybe a couple of tables, 2 tables out in that very front area.
That's correct. I mean, it's certainly not a big space. There's some existing really attractive trim around this bay that we're gonna retain. And so we'll probably have just one table located in the middle of that, a linear table, I imagine.
And I'm a horrible computer graphic artist, but essentially that red area is the area that's used for calculating the patron use area. So basically the area at the bar where folks would sit, and then this area designated for dining. So I also just want to be clear, we don't, for purposes of parking, it's why the employee piece always can be a little squirrely with the way our code does it. We don't calculate anything for back of house, so it's just this patron area that we calculated for the 4 spaces that we believe is required under the code for this.
But and kind of coming back to not meeting the 4-part variance, again, if we decided to use this entire property for just a single commercial use as its own general business, we wouldn't be able to provide the required parking per zoning.
Yeah, all of that. Thank you.
The letter that you submitted from John Rutledge, can you describe their parking situation? How many spaces do they have, and is it directly across the street?
It is directly across the street. They the contractor approached them. He has a number of relationships in the neighborhood, and they were in support of the use, but they just weren't willing to forego. I think it's a breakfast place, and so I think maybe the general manager was nervous about people leaving cars overnight, as you would want. But directly next to them is a 24-hour pay to park, and it provides 35 paid parking spots directly across the street. And then directly across Meeting, there is an additional 100 pay to parking space.
Since in his letter, Mr. Rutledge mentioned that he says, in fact, they don't have enough parking for all their employees and customers. Have y'all given any thought about where the employees will park?
I mean, this may be an owner operated establishment. But we would, I imagine, parking in the general vicinity in either of these locations.
No, it's just dark, yeah.
I had a question for Mr. Summerfield, but. You're done now.
It's on the screen. Okay.
Yeah, let's just add it, okay.
It's just on the screen. Oh, this,
Mr. Summerfield,
All right.
the question is
thank you.
is the location within the property of the wine bar relative to. Is the fact that it's taking over residential space as opposed to being added into the new construction way into this? Okay, I didn't think so. I just wanted confirmation. of that.
Yeah. No, it's
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Crouch. Any further discussion? Any other questions?
I'll comment, I'll make a motion. I generally. It seems like perhaps the issue, certainly the issue from the city standpoint is parking, but when I read the requirements of the variance test, I feel like my sense is that, my sense is that there's not a real restriction on the property by having, by not being permitted to have the wine bar. What I mean by that is that I don't know that part of the variance test is met. The other three I could probably get on board with, but I think part C is, I'm not sure I'm seeing that one met. Which is unfortunate because I think it could be a great use for the property and it seems like there'd be a fair bit of support for it. But because of the way the ordinance is written, I think I'd have to make a motion for, along the city's recommendations for denial.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett has moved to deny the request for the variance. Is there a second? All right, Ms. Grass seconds that motion to deny. So we're now voting on the denial. In other words, an aye is a vote in favor of denying the variance request. All in favor, please say aye. All right, all opposed, I'm opposed, because I would have found that the applicant meets the hardship test as outlined in the ordinance. But I'm on the one vote, so the motion carries by a vote of 4-1, and the variance is denied. Sorry, and we'll see you again soon, Mr. Kraus. Thank you.
for your time.
Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda. D, new applications. Number 1, 71 Bull Street, Charleston Village, Council District 8, TMS number 457-03-02-099, Zone DR1F, requesting the first one-year extension of vested rights that expire on September 19, 2025, pursuant to section 54-962. Vested rights pertain to special exceptions granted under section 54-110 and variances granted under section 54-301 to allow a 2-story addition and a detached 1-story accessory building. The owners are J. Walker Lane Jr. and Nicole Lane. The applicants are Kate Campbell and Nicole Delaire Lee, Bow Clowney Architects. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so again, this is an extension of vested rights. It's the first extension for the property at 71 Bull Street, which you can see here, mid-block between Rutledge and Smith Street. So the applicant has requested this first extension. By statute, it's an automatic approval unless something extremely substantive has occurred, which has not. So with that, staff is recommending approval of this extension. And our if approved condition would read as follows. If someone would like to just motion to include this, that the vested right shall expire on September 19th, 2026, unless extended by approval of a request made pursuant to section 54-962 prior to that date. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Robert. Do we have Anybody here opposed to the application for 71 Bull Street? Seeing no one opposed, do we have the owner or applicant here? All right, we're gonna move forward unless you tell me you've got something to say.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have a motion?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Morrison moves to approve with the condition as stated in the.
You're gonna ask them
slide
if
here?
anything's changed, I guess,
Yeah.
since the,
So I think the approved condition that was recommended that is the vested right shall expire on September 19, 2026, unless extended by an approval of a request made pursuant to section 54-962.
well,
prior
that's
to
by
that
law
date.
anyway, isn't it?
Well, it is, but Mr. Summerfield has requested the condition be made, so I don't know if they had some.
We're reiterating the date. We're trying to be
Yeah.
very clear because we've had some issues with vested rights and
Yeah.
what's their date. And so we're just,
Yeah, okay.
this will be a new
With-
thing for
with-
these.
With condition.
Okay, all right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Hewitt got it in first. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion carries and the first one-year extension of the vested right for 71 Bull Street is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B2, 105 King Street, Charlestown, Council District 8, TMS number 457-12-04-055, SR5. Requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming north side setback of 2 feet. 3 feet are required for a second-story addition. The owner is Harrison Malpass. The applicant is Coastal Creek Design, Joel Adrian. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is on King Street. It's just south of Broad here at 105 King Street. You can see here in the aerial where that is as well. On this location, this gives a really good kind of picture of the property, and then you have at the front on King Street, you have the 2-story element, and then you have this dip down hyphen, if you would, and then you have what is actually 105.5 King Street. That is the back building. That is an official address for this property. So it has 105 at the front and then 105.5 in the rear. This is a special exception to vertically extend that non-conforming side setback, so that basically the applicant can fill in the hyphen, if you would. So you can see kind of the existing site. Again, they're not increasing lot coverage or anything like that, but they are taking and doing a second floor where that hyphen, where that first floor kind of dip down exists on the building. And I'm sure the architects in the room are all cringing at the way I'm describing all of this, but I think that is pretty accurate. See the elevations here. See again, this elevation shows a really good example or a really good illustration of what is happening. Again, existing, nothing in that hyphen area, and now they would be proposing the second story element for 105 King Street in that no relevant history. So staff is recommending approval of this special exception. We do have an if approved condition that we would like the board to consider, which is that approval is limited to the vertical extension of the non-conforming north side setback and does not include the increase of bedrooms as contemplated in the submitted drawings for 105.5 King Street, which is designated as the secondary apartment. There is in the floor plans an indication that in all of this, there would be a reconfiguration in the second unit on this property because of we have a weird element in our code that requires if you increase a bedroom in this area or under these circumstances that you have to get that approved by the board. And so that is not a part of the approval that is here tonight, and the applicant will have to come back and address that at a future date should they wish to continue to add that second bedroom to the second unit.
So what's going to be in there, not bedrooms?
I can answer.
Yeah, I mean, the applicant's representative can answer that, but right now they're showing a second bedroom being added to the second unit. And again, that's not a part of what was in the request, even though it's illustrated in the drawings. So out of an abundance of caution, we've included this condition to make it clear that that bedroom, second bedroom in the second unit is not a part of this approval. And that requires them to come back before the board should they continue to pursue that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Robert. Appreciate the summary. Do we have anybody here who's opposed to the application for 105 King Street? Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant present? Mr. Adrian?
Thank you, Joel Adrian, Coastal Creek Design, here for 105 King Street. And probably if you just want to go to, I guess we'll start site plan on this, site plan. And we did provide, I think, late, we did get a support letter actually from Preservation Society saying that they did not have any issues with the vertical extension as long as we were careful on how we connected and the architecture of that. And then the neighbor on the immediate impacted property line also sent a support letter.
Yes, and those are in the public comment packets.
And I'll apologize, I did not realize that adding the bedroom was going to create something that needed to be brought to y'all. And so that's why it's on the drawings. And so that's why Robert is making sure that you know that that part is not to be approved today. We will be submitting that request for a later meeting. If it were not approved, we just have to redesign that space and figure things out. So if we start here and look, sorry, it's right here, and you can see that we've got a 3-foot setback required. The existing condition is not conforming, and we just want to take it to that wall and go up vertically. So if we go to the floor plan, I think that existing condition and our proposed first floor, nothing to be concerned about there. Here's where we're showing that this space here is being added right on top of these two lines where there's nothing currently on the existing condition. You can also see that here there was 1 bedroom, a bathroom, a little kitchen, little living room, and a study. And now all of a sudden we've got the 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but we're not looking for that to be approved today, only the special exception for this wall right here. We go to just cycle through. I think that the next one, this is really, well, that's the side that the neighbor that's in support gets to see right there. And then this would be the courtyard side, but not changing footprint. And I think if we go to the aerial that we have right there, you can see that where we at here. So we're looking at this area here of infill, and the existing neighbor on the opposite side. There's a very nice landscape, hedge that separates the two, which is why there's not a concern from their part. Other than that, I think I'll just answer questions that y'all might have.
Thank you, Mr. Adrian. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Adrian while he's here? Okay, no questions so far. Any questions for the city? Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move approval with condition. Stated. Yeah. You want me to read it out?
That's good enough.
Okay.
All right, so we got a motion to approve with the condition, and Mr. Adrian, you understand, you've read this condition, you know what it means. Okay. So it's limited to the vertical extension of the non-conforming north side setback and does not include the increase of bedrooms as contemplated in the submitted drawings for 105.5 King Street, secondary apartment. All right, we've got a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion carries, and the special exception for 105 King Street is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item with the condition as read. Next item on our agenda. B3 684 King Street, West Side, Council District 4, PMS number 463-16-03-003 Zone GB, requesting a special exception under section 54-511 to provide 260 square feet of outdoor patron use area without providing parking. 4 spaces are required. The owner is YP Capital Oz Fund LLC. The applicants are Hannah and Zachary Welton. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, on this one, I want to point out my comment earlier about if this was a special exception, we'd have a different conversation on an earlier item. It was also addressing 4 parking spaces. So here's why that was important that I make that clear on the record. So this is a property located on King Street, just a little south of Sumter Street. You can see here in the aerial, doesn't do the best job, but this is it's a very small shop at the front of the property with a residential behind it. This is again, an area of King Street that has a very eclectic mix of commercial and residential properties. The Welton's Tiny Bake Shop is what they're calling this. So right next door, they have a bake shop. I believe it's next door is the bake shop. Yeah. And so this would be just a very small retail use. And so what they're proposing is, so, and I think we have a shot here. So there is an existing driveway that's not big enough to fit an American car in. I think there has been a golf cart in there in the past and some other stuff. We actually, Matt went out and measured it. It's not an adequate space that you could actually fit a car. It doesn't meet our dimensional requirements. So while there is a driveway that exists there on paper, I guess, that driveway is actually insufficient to actually accommodate any kind of parking. So the proposed request, so they have the existing interior area where they're going to be doing the retail elements and with some dining. And so they would like to be able to put, and this is on-site outdoor dining. So this is not cafe, this is not sidewalk dining in the street. This would be considered on-site outdoor dining within the footprint of, again, the non-compliant driveway area. And so you can kind of see here again, they've broken everything out. They do have quite a bit of support from neighboring properties in the area. There is no relevant case history. Again, this is a special exception, does not have the same rules as the hardship test. There is neighborhood parking. Additionally, again, I think the cases in this, and the applicant can go into this more, that they are, going to be more neighborhood serving in terms of this use. Again, not a big destination to come and just have a croissant and coffee, but like that this will be something that would be a spot more for folks in the area in terms of the outdoor dining. I do want to be clarify that this is, so we noticed it as 4 spaces out of an abundance of caution because we weren't sure what was the deal at the time that we needed to make the newspaper notice about the residential space. We've since deep dived into it. The actual request is for a special exception for only 2 spaces. Again, has some circumstances similar to the earlier case. The difference here is special exception does not have anywhere near the level of scrutiny as a variance. Neighborhood support in writing here to suggest that this can be done. And again, it is only 2 spaces that they actually need, not the 4 spaces as advertised. And with that, staff is recommending approval of the special exception.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak in opposition to the application for 684 King Street? I see no one in opposition. Do we have the applicant or the owner here? All right, sir, anything you'd like to say to the board?
Yeah, I mean, we're Zachary Welton.
Thank you. Please state your name and address. Yeah,
Sorry, Zachary Welton, 684 King Street.
thank you.
Yeah, we're a small cafe, pretty quick service, so not really looking for people to stay for hours on end or leave their car overnight. Just a quick pop in, grab a coffee, croissant, and head out. We have a really good neighborhood following that supports us, and we just think it'd be a much better use of the space than a vacant driveway.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Mr.
Anybody,
Can I
somebody's
ask
got a
one
question?
Sure.
The last sentence on these little 4 support letters confuses me. It says, I fully support Welton's Tiny Bake Shop's need to have available off-street parking. What does that mean?
There's plenty of off-street, just open parking, so.
I mean, I'm sure these are in support, it's just the wording. Do you know what it means?
I think it means that they're saying that there's available street parking. The wording is bad, I would agree with you, but
I just want to make
based
sure
on the
these-
context of the preceding sentence, I think it's meant that there's available street parking for this use, but
Yeah.
that's the way I read it,
I
but
agree.
yes, I think on its own, it sounds like they're saying they need parking.
Yeah, the context puts me at ease. I'm sure they thought.
Sorry.
Right.
Mr. Baker, definitely not.
I'm definitely not a baker.
I want to ask the city, so I'm confused about the expansion for the retail shop. We're not looking at parking for that. This is just for the outdoor
Correct.
dining.
Yeah, the previous zoning administrator has determined that the interior space is under the commercial nonconformity.
Okay, thank you.
So what's the plan for the new actual retail space?
Yeah, so that currently, I mean, our bake shop is very tiny at 682, so that will just become all production, and then we'll move the current maybe 100 square feet of patron use will get moved to 684, have a few seats. And our 682 space will just be all kitchen.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Welton.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion, questions?
I'll make a motion for approval. And unlike the other one, I think there's, looking at this specifically as a special exception, I think this makes a lot of sense, very reasonable.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett's moved approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morrison seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion carries by a unanimous vote of 5-0, and the special exception for 684 King Street is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B4, 2050 Hubbard Street, Peninsula, Council District 4, TMS number 464-02-00-043, Zone GB, requesting a special exception under Section 54-206F for a self-storage facility without outdoor boat and trailer storage. The owner is SC Department of Commerce, Division of Public Railways, DBA Palmetto Railways. The applicant is Lindsay Van Slambrook, excuse me. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this item is on Herbert Street, just to the east of Meeting Street. As you can see here, north of Milford Street. Again, because of everything that's going on here with the way this has been subdivided, it's very much a pie-shaped lot, kind of different in terms of the lot characteristics. Also, this is an area that is both industrial and then GB and light industrial and heavy industrial. So a very active, heavy, intense users within this general space. Here you can see the site. This is a site that has been cleared at this point and is relatively completely open for redevelopment. They have submitted a number of pieces of information. I do want to compliment the team. They worked very closely with staff in terms of comments that were made during the sketch plan Wednesday process, which is the kind of starting our technical review process. They have moved the storage interior to the site. This requires a special exception by our code to come before this board and be approved because of I believe it's because of the outdoor component, but don't quote me 100% on that. It might be the whole mini storage, that part of it, but there are no specific conditions
as it relates to that. That said, this is in our design review corridor because of the commercial corridors. And so there will be some design review on it. And again, from a staff perspective, we did request that they, to the extent possible, move the outdoor storage away from Meeting Street, and then bring the building as close up to Herbert as they could. There are some existing easements and other things that make that not possible for them to bring it all the way up to the street, which is, I think this is a good compromise that they've shown on this site plan, although I don't know if this has gone to DRB team or anyone else yet in the design parts of our operation. As you can see here in the relevant history, it was platted in this pie-shaped configuration back in September of 21. And then they did that sketch plan earlier this summer in July. And were very responsive, as I mentioned, to city comments during that process. Staff is recommending approval of the special exception for the storage facility with the outdoor boat and trailer storage, given that they have in fact moved the storage to the least intrusive area. It is a heavily industrial and high intensity commercial zoning area. So this would seem as an appropriate a place as you could find for this type of activity.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here to speak in opposition to the application for 2050 Herbert Street? Being no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant present? Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Lindsay Vance Lambert, my business address is 151 Meeting Street in Charleston. I am the attorney appearing on behalf of the prospective buyer and developer. I've got Ryan Heiler here, who's with the buyer and developer who potentially developed this into self-storage, if you've got any specific questions about the project. And just to clarify, we're here for a special exception because any self-storage use in GD requires us to come and meet all the requirements, which we have. And so I think Mr. Phil has done a good job of summarizing the project, and we're happy to answer any questions they all have.
Mr. Morton has a question.
Is this part of the Magnolia area? Where is this? Is this part of the Magnolia project?
So Magnolia would be to the west.
Yeah.
So it's on the,
Where's
across the
where's the
interstate.
nearest residential to this? Is there anything close?
No, and that's actually one of the special exception requirements, that we cannot have this within 200 feet of any residential use, and there's no one zone residential.
So is the boat storage the stacked up places, or is it just ground levels parking?
Ryan Heiler, it'll be just ground level parking.
Okay,
Yeah, they haven't requested dry stacks for this
okay.
as a part of this. And then again, the residential, if you look here on the zoning map, residential is over here on the other side of the tracks and the King Street extension and the freeway. So again, lots of things to create a barrier between the existing residential. Again, this is a very intense.
What used to be on this site? Was it?
Something related to
Is
the
it a
rail
lay
yard.
down yard for the railroad?
Yeah, it's always been lay down yard, but mostly trailer storage.
And there's potentially a rail spur. It's planned,
Yeah.
of course, that can always change, but there's
Right.
a rail spur, which is why you get that funny
Yeah.
high shape, right?
So the railroad bought the entire parcel, subdivided it, and the plan is to put the spur in front of this.
And if you drive down Herbert Street, I think on this, the corner here of Meeting and Herbert, there is, just to the north, I think that's like a car repair shop. If you're driving down the street, it's not residential, it's industrial or raw land. It's a pretty good spot if you're gonna put self-storage.
Could you explain on the site plan where the boat parking would be? I was just confused where that would.
Yeah, okay, so coming off of Meeting Street, so this will be a 3-story building, all interior climate controlled, about 88,000 square foot in total. The office area for the self-storage will be on this corner, so we have patron parking here with employee parking. And then the primary entrance for both the loading of the storage and for the boat and RV parking will be on the back of the building. So you will come into a gated drive here. It'll be a one-way loop that then wraps back out and exits.
Got it.
I think there's maybe 38 parking spaces in total for boat and RV.
All right, any other questions for the owner applicant? Any discussion? Somebody want to make a motion?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Morrison seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously and the special exception for 2050 Herbert Street is granted. Thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda, we're at V5, 2301 Odessa Street, Rosemont, Council District 4. TMS number 464-01-00-149, zoned SR1, requesting variances from section 54-301 to build a single-family residence with a 5-foot east side setback and a 5-foot west side setback, 9 feet and 9 feet are required. The owner is Easy Carolina Home Buyers LLC. The applicant is Edgar Franz Calderon. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is a property in the, as mentioned, in the Rosemont area. This is at the corner of Odessa Street and Austin Avenue. You can see the zoning map here. It's a SR1 neighborhood. That said, it's an SR1 neighborhood where the zoning came much later than the platting related to this community. So while we do have SR1 standards that we apply to these lots, again, as you can see, we have lot configurations that are kind of a little all over the place. Because again, this is an area that existed well before our current zoning rules that we then applied and overlaid in this area. You can see here on the aerial, this is a mostly single-family detached community. There are a few commercial outlets as well as I think a couple churches in the general area. This is a sweet shop over here. And I think there's a couple other things like that, but you do see some properties like this one where they are changing hands and they are being repurposed and redeveloped. So the applicant is proposing on this lot the removal of the existing house. In doing so, they will bring the lot into closer conformity. Again, it's a non-conforming situation that we currently have. However, they are clearing the lot and proposing a new building, but the again, because of the lot conditions in the SR1 applying it, this is only a 30-foot wide lot. So if you go and you put the setback requirements of 9 and 9, that's 18 feet. That takes up more than half of your lot width, which really would make this a very, very difficult lot to provide a single family detached home on. In this view, we've been talking to the applicant, and by we I mean Matt, because he does all the work. Talking to the applicant about the fact that, and I'll get to it in a second, staff in looking at this is actually supportive of the request because again, we do think that it addresses technically a reduction in the nonconformity of the lot with the fact that the house will actually move completely within the property lines because currently the house is arguably outside of the property line with the existing structure, and so this would remedy that. But from a staff perspective, we were a little concerned about the building placement on the site being too far from Odessa Street. The street pattern on Odessa is very much the homes front very close to the street. And so what we don't want to happen from a staff perspective is in granting this variance,
that the house be set back like a more suburban style. And so we have a condition that we would like to add to this request that I'll get to in a moment. This is not the house. This is just a potential house that the applicant is looking at. And again, I'll let them go into that. Disregard this driveway here, because again, we're going to talk about that in a moment as well. But again, a very modest home is being proposed for the property in terms of, again, it's only a 30-foot wide lot. So, you know, you're looking at a 20-foot home with the proposed setbacks. And again, it's not a very deep lot. So even with the width, you still can't go like a super long row house like we see in other parts of the peninsula, particularly in areas of the lower peninsula where we have very narrow lots, but they're very long. And so we end up with these very deep homes. Again, they are proposing it as a 2-story home. We don't have any relevant history. Staff is recommending approval of both the side variances. We are proposing a condition though. The house shall be sited towards the front of the lot as allowed by section 54506A, and that parking access shall remain from Austin Avenue. As you can see in the, well, sort of can't see it in the aerial, but if you can see in here, and I have a, oh, I did have a pointer, but now it went away. So the driveway is here. There are no driveways along particularly this side of Odessa, and really the only place you see a driveway on this side of Odessa is here where you have the sweet shop. And again, you have, this is kind of a very unique circumstance with this property. So again, from a staff perspective, we are supportive of the variances. We think, again, it remedies the fact that the existing house is across the property line, and will make it easier for this property to potentially have something on it in the future, because I believe this is a vacant lot presently, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so not only will it make this lot potentially available, but it'll take care of that. But again, because we do want to be conscious of the context in this, on this block specifically, but in this neighborhood period, we do have that recommended condition relative to siting the house close to the street, and then that parking be accessed off of Austin as it is now.
All right, thank you, Robert. So the city is recommending approval of the 2 variances. Do we have anyone here in opposition to the application for 2301 Odessa Street? Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant present? Anything you'd like to say to the board?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. My name is Franz Calderon from Next Gen Homes. I would like to clarify, or when you mean closer to the front, do you have like a special measurement that you want that we meet?
So we don't have a specific, we just wanted to essentially be in line with the other homes on the street. So I think when we were looking at it with some different measurements, it was somewhere in the 3-5-ish range, definitely closer than even the revised site plan that you showed. I think your revision put it at 15 feet. So we would be looking at a bit closer. But again, the exception that is cited here allows you to move it in line essentially with the existing homes instead of being set back as far. Doesn't require it to come back before the board. It just uses that section. But I don't think we have a prescribed
Exact distance.
Yeah, it's just we wanted in alignment with the other streets on the, but we didn't want to get in the way of whatever your design might be for your porch or what have you. So we want you to be able to figure that out, essentially.
And the other question will be, or the parking will be on the back side of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, access from Austin, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Anybody have any
It
questions?
could be back further than it currently is, but because you do have a fair amount of yard, and for whatever reason, the current driveway is like right at the back of the house, and so again, that's at your design discretion, but we would want the parking to be accessed from Austin.
Any other questions for the owner applicant? Okay, thank you, Mr. Calderon.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, any discussion
Move approval.
with conditions?
Yes, please, sorry.
All right, so Mr. Morrison has moved to approve with the condition that the house should be sited towards the front of the lot as allowed by section 54-506A, and parking access shall remain from Austin Avenue. Is there a second? Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. The two variances for 2301 Odessa Street are granted with the conditions as stated. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda, B6, 27 Lambole Street, Charlestown, Council District 8, TMS number 457-16-01-038, zoned SR4, requesting variance from section 54-301 to increase lot occupancy, 48.6% existing, 49.2% proposed, 35% allowed, to relocate Piazza Stairs. Owners are Dean and Jenny Haldopoulos, and the applicant is EE Fava Architects, Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property is right here at the corner of Lambeau and it's a French word,
Malcolm Howell.
the three. See, that's just not good. Anyway,
Well, at least
So-
you got Lambeau this week because it was Lambeau last week. You're trending in a good direction.
well, I'm trying,
We're
my-
gonna work on LeGree.
my staff even gave me a book of all of Charleston's street, there's so many of them that there's an actual book about Charleston's street names and how to pronounce them properly.
You
I
should
just-
write a book on how to pronounce it improper.
That's for our blooper reel for the holiday push. So, so you can see the property here at the corner. You can see here in the aerial, this site. So again, this is one where honestly, I'm hoping the new zoning code will give me some discretion, for this relatively small adjustment to the, site occupancy. So existing, there's a staircase here within the piazza. I'll let the architect speak to the discussions he had with BAR, but essentially, my understanding is that in working with BAR on some of the other improvements that they're making, they would like to return this to just be the piazza and not have the stair here. However, in order to continue to access properly, they are relocating the stair to this area. In doing so, it obviously comes out of this footprint and comes into the footprint of the house or the footprint of the yard, and makes a 0.6% increase in lot occupancy. This is an existing non-conforming lot occupancy situation. Again, because we've applied, bless you, we've applied our current zoning rules in an area of town that just the lot configurations do not always match those rules. However, because it's not, it's a variance because it is increasing the lot area. However, I would argue shouldn't be a variance and should just be something that we could do at a 0.6% increase. Because of the nature of this lot, any adjustment, if you put a bird's water bath thing out there, you're going to increase the lot coverage by a percentage. So at any rate, again, it's a somewhat unique situation where you're trying to remedy the historic situation. Well, semi-unique because it's Charleston and you're always trying to remedy a historic situation by moving the stair outside of the existing footprint. But again, anything that touches the land that's not currently being touched by the structure is going to exacerbate the lot occupancy.
And again, in this zoning classification, we have lots of them that do not meet the 35%. And I think one of the questions we even have for the zoning team working on our rewrite is, should we even have a 35% lot occupancy, or is a 50% in line with other zoning districts probably more appropriate in the general area? It's a conversation for a later day, but at any rate, so staff is recommending approval of this variance.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody who is in who is in opposition to the application for 27 Lambeau Street? Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner applicant here? All right, anything you'd like to say? You're ready for us to vote.
Happy to answer any questions if you have.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Grass moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Huey seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. And the variance on lot occupancy for 27 Lambeau Street is granted. Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B7, 20 Alberta Avenue, Wagner Terrace, Council District 6, TMS number 463-11-03-083, zoned SR2, requesting variances from section 54-301 to allow a rear addition, kitchen and screen porch with a 16-foot 8-inch rear setback and a 5-foot 1-inch east side setback. 25 feet and 9 feet are required. The owners are Jeff and Amelia Kearney. The applicant is Coastal Creek Design, Joel Adrian, Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so 20 Alberta Avenue has been before you before. And I think even though the request is somewhat the same in terms of the setbacks, you're going to see some relatively dramatic changes in the proposal in terms of what the applicant is looking to do on this site. So you can see this is mid-block on Alberta in the Wagner Terrace neighborhood, which had previously sent a letter of support for the old design and in general the variances for the setback. I believe that carries over into this request. I don't believe they've retracted that. In fact, you'll see in your public comment that they do have some correspondence from the Preservation Society thanking the applicant for adjusting their plans and hearing the comments that were made at the previous hearing and moving more in line with maybe a neighborhood context. So you can see the updated drawing sets, site plan. You can see here that the area that the request is in the rear for this proposed addition with the screen porch. You can, again, Mr. Adrian does an excellent job of delineating the overall addition and then the area that's in for the variance. The variance in this case is actually slight reduction in the variance that was requested previously. I think previously they were asking for 18 feet and now they're only asking for 16 feet. Joel, am I getting that right? Looking at you.
Excuse me, I think it, and actually, whenever you're done, I'll present. It is different, but I think it pushes deeper.
I'm sorry. That makes more sense. I kept confusing myself when I looked at this. My apologies to everybody. So for the record, they actually increased the variance. They went from originally it was 18 feet and now they're at 16 feet. Sorry, for some reason my brain was switching that around. So yeah, so technically the variance is a little more, but again, I think the overall direction that the project is going is much better. Again, as you can see here, one of the reasons why they needed to go out a little further is because they had been going more up with their space, and now they're going to go out a little bit more. Again, it's just a little bit more, but Joel can go into that in more detail. But you can see on the floor plan what they're proposing here for the again, originally they were doing a whole second story
with a cupola element that was gonna be above that. They're no longer doing that, and so everything remains kind of on the first floor or one floor dimension. Some roofing plans. So again, you can see where before we had this second story thing, and then we had this cupola thing that,
Cupola.
I'm sorry, what?
Just messing with you, Rob.
Oh, I'm like, am I saying that one wrong? I've been saying that one wrong like a long time then. And then again, you can see here just the changes that obviously they're going back further into the property than the current house, but the new element is reduced down below the roofing of the historic materials. Again, kind of maintaining at the street and the public facing element, more of that what the character that folks are used to. And then just the back where they would have the screen porch and then some rear windows. They are adding a fireplace, because everything has a fireplace added these days. And some photos of the site. Again, this item was previously before you back in May. It was deferred based on comments, specifically some comments made by the Preservation Society, to study the necessity of the height that was being proposed as a part of all of this, and somewhat the architecture. This is only in demo purview of BAR, so it is not. So while they do have some purview over elimination of any of the historic materials, i.e. Removing any portion of the roof for an addition, they don't have a review authority over the new elements of the architecture. Again, want to compliment the applicant and their architect for being very responsive to staff concerns about the architecture, as well as the concerns raised by members of the public. With that, staff is recommending approval of the variance for the rear setback at 16 foot 8 inches and the east side setback at 5 foot 1 inch. And we do not have any, if approved, conditions relative to this item.
All right, thank you, Robert. City recommends approval of both variances. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 20 Alberta Avenue? Seeing no one in opposition. Mr. Adrian, is there anything you'd like to say to the board?
Well, I love talking, but I don't want to take more time than necessary. But I would, if you'd like, I'd be glad to
Can
explain.
you just tell me, I think I missed the last meeting,
Okay.
how you've addressed whatever
Sure.
the issues were that Preservation Society raised?
Joel Adrian, Coast Creek Design, 20 Alberta, and if you go to the site plan, Mr. Bennett had concerns, I think Ms. Grass had concerns about our initial proposal. And if you look at this, we are now proposing 16 feet 8 inches from the rear property line to the back of this one-story structure. Previous design was 18 feet, but to the back of a two-story structure. And so the concern was the mass in that backyard and the scale of it to neighbors and everything else. And so Preservation Society didn't like that we were proposing to remove a small portion of the roof of the historic house. And that was part of their comment, along with the scale and the mass of the proposal. So we spent a considerable amount of time with our client, coming up with a new program that would keep this a one-story addition and just push back. I will say that we did present to BAR. BAR did give us approval to remove the fabric of the rear elevation if you go to that rear elevation, but there was one sacred piece. And that's it right there. You see that little clipped gable? That had to remain intact, and the eaves had to remain intact. So our addition steps in, and then the pitch is low to make sure we preserve that roof form and those existing corner boards of the house to appease the requirement of BAR. That also, I think, made the Preservation Society very happy. And the fact that it's a one-story addition, if you look at that side elevation, this is really the key, is that our addition is being sensitive to the scale of the charming little historic cottage that's there. and pushing it to the back. The plans were resent to the neighborhood. The neighborhood did not express any concerns over this request versus the last request. And there's no neighbors here to say no. So now I'll just answer any other questions.
All right, seems like you're doing good. Any questions?
Yeah, my only question is, why didn't you do this one first? This is a good one.
Just because I like coming and talking to y'all. And yes, no.
All right, Ms. Grass, any questions?
No.
No.
I'll move
Okay.
for approval.
All right, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Mr. Bennett seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or opposed, the motion passes. And the variances for 20 Alberta Avenue are granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the last item on our agenda, B8, 6 Trumbo Street, Charleston Village, Council District 8, TMS number 457-12-01-011, Zone DR1F, requesting a special exception under Section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming west side setback of 6 feet 7 inches, 9 feet are required for a second-story addition, and requesting variances from Section 54-301 to allow a rear addition of the 4-foot 2-inch rear setback, 10 feet 1 inch existing, 25 feet are required, and to increase lot occupancy 55.5% existing, 66.4% proposed, 50% allowed. The owner is Ben Smooth. The applicant is Coastal Creek Design, Joel Adrian. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property here on Trumbo, again, we find ourselves in a situation where we have the DR1F zoning in this case applied to lots that were plotted well before that zoning came into effect. The applicant has provided, and I'll let them go through an analysis of the other lots in terms of specifically lot coverage, but I think they also speak to setbacks in that analysis that they did. You can see the aerial of the property here. Again, this is in a kind of a grouping of a few houses where essentially the homes take up the lion's share of the lot. And it would be very difficult to do anything on this property again without kind of exacerbating that condition. What the applicant has put together. So here you can see, and it's important to take a look at this because if you've driven by 6 Trumbo Street, this is not what it looks like today. It's presently a 2-story home, does not have the additional components above the piazza, the porch area. However, as a part of, not as a part of the application, but as a part of the work that is going to be happening on this site, the applicant is raising, doing flood mitigation. So they are raising the property or the house. And so it will be raised, I think, 7 feet.
It goes up like an extra 6 feet.
Yeah. And so there is a new kind of ground floor, but then there's 2 stories above. This is in a 3-story height district, so there was no questions about the overall height that's being what's not being requested, but that would be produced by the proposed changes. And so what you are looking at this evening on this application is this part in the rear where they are proposing to add an encroachment here. Well, the existing house encroaches here, so then adding above that is over here. And then this is the additional encroachment that creates more setback nonconformity. Again, Joel does a great job of color coding these, and I'm not doing a great job of having some brain fog at the moment. So anyway, you can see here the proposed new ground floor with the elevation of the home. Then that would create, with the addition that's being proposed in the rear, that would create this new proposed first floor. With essentially the expansion would allow them to kind of bump out their dining room area. They are creating an additional porch with some circular stairs there. Again, this is just going to what would amount to a 2nd floor deck. Again,
second floor above a ground floor and first floor. And some reconfiguration within the existing home for that second floor. You can see the roof sections there again. One of the things that threw me on the plans was there's an area labeled for entertainment. That is it's under the house. So again, if you can see here, all of that is open under there. Yes, they are indicating a spa. Yes, in the floor plan, they indicated a kind of a hangout spot. Behind this door is unconditioned storage space. So again, even though they technically are in a 3-story district, so they could have a 3rd story, just so that we're all clear. We're investigating, we're going to be looking at one of the questions that came up in last minute kind of staff review of this. I believe we do not require the special exception for the vertical extension relative to the new height because of the flood mitigation for raising the structure. If that is an issue, we've already talked to Joel and he will come back for Mr. Adrian, he will come back for that portion of it. But we don't want to hold this project up because I don't think we do. But to be honest, I haven't had many of the raising of structures since I've been in the year now that I've been doing the zoning administrator responsibilities. So we need to just double check that since one of our team members brought that up as a question. Again, you can kind of see here this front elevation that I was talking about. So again, if you were to drive past it now, it looks like this, but after they've raised it and added the additional 2nd story element on the drawing left here, as well as these elements in the rear, this is how this will look at the end of the day. And I will let Joel speak to Mr. Adrian, speak to this diagram when he comes up. We do not have any relevant case history on this. Again, staff is, given the nature of the site, staff is recommending for the special exception as well as the 2 requested variances. We do not have any if approved conditions.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anyone who is opposed to the application for 6 Trumbo Street? All right, seeing no one in opposition. Mr. Joel, I just can't get enough Adrian.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
He is half of our agenda this evening almost.
Joel Adrian, Group Design, 6 Trumbo, and Robert, you pronounced that street right. Go there. This is a great diagram to start the conversation on, and it was just us going through and looking at lot coverages of the homes in the area and where they exist today. And I think also what's important to look at is it goes from lot number 20 here at the corner is 56%, so it's over, but it's it's larger. It's 3,900 square feet compared to little 6 Trumbo. That's a lot size of 2,062 square feet. So it ranges from from 56, we got right around just under 50%, 61, 68 adjacent to us, 48, but a lot of it depends on the actual square footage of the dirt from that piece of property. So I believe that our request to go up into the low 60s is in keeping with the neighborhood based off of the square footage of the property that we're working with. And we will make sure that our house stays within our property versus some of these others that go over the property line. So now if we can go back, we just talked to the drawings and the variance request. That's great right there on that site plan. So what we have right now is a 1-story piazza that comes back, and then there is a section of it right here that's been enclosed on the ground level. So our request is what we're showing is to actually take that and make it a 2nd story non-conformity as well. Here in this little section, we've got the existing house pushes back there. We'd like to add this little rectangle here so we can get a dining room off of the kitchen. These little single houses are small, tight, little shotguns. And then the thought was we could pop a small little porch off here off the dining room, spiral stair to go down, get to the grade. If we can go to floor plan sheets, I think this is a good one to show, what we have existing. There's a small little back stoop that gets in. This is a little bathroom. Our proposal on the first floor, this first floor obviously will be elevated at 6 feet just so that we can get the allowed 12 inches above the design, the base flood elevation for our design flood, but we will make a small little pantry with that additional square footage. The bathroom stays as is. Piazza stays the same, house stays the same, except for we can actually provide a small little dining table and dining area for the first floor. On the second floor, should be hopefully the next sheet. So existing second floor, you can see is just the simple width of that house. And if we can take that first floor area that is on the extending over that west side setback, and we can create a little laundry room and a walk-in closet for what is the primary suite. And then the thought was the area that's in the back, we can just make a little deck, go out, spiral stair, get down to the backyard. And I believe that if we look at the elevations, which we'll go through, we did present this to the Preservation Society. They said that they did not see any issues with our request for zoning. Obviously, they will get into the detail of what we're proposing architecturally. I'd like to let you know that the house at 4 is currently been raised. I think it's just been reset onto the foundation. And the house at 8 just went to BAR at their last meeting for elevating and doing the same thing. So you had 3 houses that were really basically all the same. Left and right are going up. And so, the guy in the middle wants to be the same. He's trying to keep up with the Joneses, I guess. But so this ground floor, nothing on that ground floor is conditioned. You can see that we are not asking to go any higher than what's required by design flood elevation based off of base flood being AE11, and our grade is basically 4 feet. So right now, as it sits, we get some of these nice little flood events, and the owner is out watching to make sure that water's not coming into his house. Other than that, I think that ground floor, so that area that's underneath here, it is not conditioned. It was high enough for someone to be able to walk under and have a beer, watch TV if they wanted. So I think that I'll leave it at that and answer any questions you want.
All right, any questions for Mr. Adrian? All right, thank you very much. Any questions for the city discussion? Your motion. All right, let's pass this to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously. And the special exception and variances for 6 Humboldt Street are approved. Thank you. Have a great evening. 2.
We're gonna put a moratorium on Joel Adrian applications.
So Robin, if there's any you